take the microphone, it's more easier. Okay, first of all, I have to excuse it's not an academic research or anything like that. Is it flickering? Okay. Cool, perfect technology as always. No, it's something like I'm interested in a lot of things and I'm into the digital world since 20 years. I do things in an analytical way. I've done a lot of academic research in search of things of social media, stuff like that. Perfect technology. But today I want to talk about esports on the blockchain, and the reason is because there's a kind of two emerging technologies in terms of which are getting much more popular. First, we start up with a short warm-up so that you get to know me, and then a little bit I get to know something about you, because there are two topics and I need to have a little bit of an understanding how much the knowledge is already there. Then I will go introduction and give an explanation, and then we jump into examples. Things like where blockchain and esports are merging together is really something which is basically going on at the moment. So first of all, that's me. I'm, as mentioned before, born in Upper Austria. I moved 8 years ago to Hong Kong. I studied there Master of Visual Arts in Art Administration, and I did also an MPhil. But kind of where I'm coming from is normally the digital world, which is like agency business, startup business, stuff like that. So if someone wants to describe me in 3 words, it's normally startups, travel, and cryptography. Cryptography in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and blockchain. So now we come to something where I need to know a little bit about you guys. So does anyone here know what blockchain is? Just to raise your hand. Okay, we have a little bit less than my normal audience, but that's not a big problem. Okay, I don't see anyone. I can ask the next one. Does anyone own Bitcoin or Ethereum? Okay, that's not that bad. Perfect. Does anyone know what an ICO is? Okay, we are going less. So how much was it now? Like 5 people? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. So, what should we do? Wait, just try it again. Maybe it's working, okay. Esports. I think everyone here is aware what esports means, but I give a little bit of introduction so that you see where these two markets are emerging. I don't know if anyone knows this guy. Perfect, that's the right audience here, because normally if I do this presentation somewhere else, no one knows this guy, but in Europe it's very well known. Does everyone know all these 3 games? No, doesn't seem like that. Okay, if you start first one is like 20 years ago. I think it's Wolfenstein 3D, where you kill people, graphic very worse. People played it. I think the second one was like FIFA 1996, something like that. And then the last one, I'm assuming people know this one, League of Legends. Okay, that's basically where things getting interesting. At that time, when we talk about this, gaming was not popular. Here, gaming get a little bit of mainstream, like big publishers like EA Games. The last one, like League of Legends, that's basically where we are at the moment. Large events like this. I don't know if you have here, I just got some information from a friend of mine. I think Austrian Telecom is starting now as well their own esports league somehow in Austria. I don't know if this information is really confirmed. But to give you an idea, this is something which drives a lot of audiences. Like 400 million people are watching it. The live final was watched by around 27 million. I think there's even a latest one which is up to 35 million people. They don't watch this thing on TV. They watch it in the internet. If you compare it as well with things like the finals of some NFL games, they have similar numbers. But this is an industry which is very fragmented, not organized, and even the mainstream media is not really covering it somehow. You will not hear about a League of Legends finals in a newspaper like Kronenzeitung in Austria or something like this. What is happening as well, computer games, from my perspective, they are now already the biggest sports in the world. There are discussions if they are sports or not, but personally, they are different level of sports because it needs a lot of dedication, and if you see those guys, they need to train a lot. And from this perspective, it's a kind of sports. Then definitely how all these things are getting distributed. Does everyone know Twitch? Okay, we're getting there. It's basically something like MTV for gaming, but fully digital, and everyone can stream, and it's huge. Then, yeah, definitely YouTube knows everyone, but YouTube has now their own gaming channel. There are smaller ones. I think there's even one which was from Austria, or somehow from Austria, which is called Hitbox. They are not as big. It seems like in this game, there are like chances for 2 or 3 big ones. We are talking here only about what the Western world is doing. If you talk about the Asian market, it looks a little bit different. They have different streaming platforms because of regulations and also do stuff like that. So, blockchain, it's a little bit more complicated. Normally, an introduction to blockchain takes hours, days. Like I gave once a friend of mine, he's working for a German startup, and he's really technical, very affine. It took me around 5 days, 4 hours a day to explain him the whole concept. So I don't know how we do it now. We will rush a little bit through it. So basically, there's a definition based on Wikipedia. Doesn't give any idea. How I try always to explain it, it's something like a database which is decentralized, and basically the entries which you make in the database you cannot change. That's a very small explanation and a very short explanation. But what it is, it's a technology. And then everyone knows Bitcoin, I'm assuming, because that's in the media everywhere. And Bitcoin is basically what the whole thing got famous for. And it got famous for different reasons. That hype normally in media is built through like Bitcoin. Oh, well, we are now, how much we're now Bitcoin? I think 4,600 or 800. Bitcoin last year was worth 700. Bitcoins 2 years ago was worth 300. Bitcoin, when ago? 5 years ago was, no, 6 years ago was worth like $10. So the media now, when they talk about cryptocurrency, blockchain, normally we hear about Bitcoin. But that's only a very small part of it. There's much, much more to it. Bitcoin is basically, if you can understand it, blockchain is a technology, and Bitcoin uses the technology of the blockchain on top of it. People which are into cryptocurrency have most likely also heard about ETHEREUM. Yes, perfect. There's a little bit of a difference. ETHEREUM is, in short, programmable money. Because with Bitcoin, I can only make transactions of money, A to B or B to C, but I cannot give conditions to it. And ETHEREUM has something which is called smart contracts. Smart contracts are programs which you can deploy not on a server, like into the blockchain. And basically, the code, once deployed, is fixed. So what you could do, for example, let's say, I want to make a prediction and say tomorrow it's raining, and someone else say no, tomorrow it's not raining, and we're making a bet of it. Normally at the moment you would need a third party which is verifying it. But with the blockchain we can basically use a smart contract. Everyone pays in like 1 Ether, for example, and there's something which is called an oracle. For example, the data from Wetter.at. And if it's then raining, I, for example, get the money because I was betting it's raining, and the other person would get it because it's would only get it when it's not raining. Things like this could be used as well. For example, if you imagine, which is a very nice use case, if you do property development. Just imagine in Austria it's called Grundbuch, so the entry where you have who owns the land would be fully digitalized, fully public open. And if I do a transaction, if I buy now property, it's complicated. I need to go to the bank, transfer money. I most likely need to get a lawyer. He needs to sign stuff, costs all a lot of money. With blockchain, technically, I could do all these things on my own between people, and it's verified as well because the property could be only owned by one person. ICOs, so some of you people know what it is. It's getting confused a lot, which IPO. So IPO is when a company goes on the stock market and normally raises money against bringing shares of the company to the, to the stock market. If we talk about an ICO, it's called an initial coin offering. And this is basically the definition of Wikipedia, and that's very funny. because it's controversial, unregulated, crowdfunding, all kind of buzzwordy. But in the end, what you have to understand what it is, in a simple way how I try always to give you an idea what an ICO is. Just imagine you want to open your own restaurant. So what could you do to get the initial money? Either you have your money already, which is then you put in your own money in your own company, or you have a nice proposal, go to a bank, get the credit, have a big loan on your house, company fails, you fail. Or if you're a restaurant, for example, you would go out and say, oh, I'm a famous cook, and because I'm a famous cook, I get investors, but the investors I have to give shares. In an ICO, it's something like, okay, I want to open a restaurant, I make a nice website, this is the concept I want to do, I give a kind of a white paper, and it's not an academic white paper, these are marketing white papers, where they propose, okay, we want to open a restaurant in the first district of Vienna, we will open in 1 year, and to fund all this up front, they would issue vouchers. Like they say, okay, we give out 1,000 dinner vouchers at the fixed price, and people start up front to buy vouchers from this restaurant. The only problem is, the risk is, what do you do if this restaurant never opens? Nothing, you basically lost your money. But for the restaurant, it's very interesting because they lower the risk, and all this ICO ecosystem is a little bit more complicated, and it's only doable for certain organizations, and so the restaurant is only an explanatory example, so please don't go out and make an ICO for a Würstelstandl in Vienna or something like this. I mean, would be funny to do that, actually. Okay, an ICO in this whole crypto world is basically this. It's the holy glory of how we all get money in and how things are. If you're into this universe, it's at the moment like everyone wants to do an ICO. If you're in the startup scene, and like even yesterday, I was here at the event and I had to go, like 2 people calling me, oh, Jürgen, because I did 2 weeks ago a presentation about ICO marketing. We want to do an ICO and how to do it. It's something where everyone is thinking they can raise money, but it's much, much more because you basically issue your own currency on the blockchain, and that's a little bit more than just collecting money. And for me, why it's interesting, because there are 2 things, which is blockchain technology and esports. And for me, what I'm thinking, what's happening at the moment, and it's really happening literally at the moment, is the fusion of these both things. Because in esports, you have sometimes problems how to fund your new project. So if you want to build a game, how do you fund your game? If you want to build services on top, like for example, you want to do your own esports league team, there are people decentralized, or if you stream something, how streaming rights, things like this, you can solve with blockchain and esports. But I think most of you guys know these things as well, because if you talk about currencies and token, there are already some. If you think like in World of Warcraft, you have gold. In Counter-Strike Go, you have keys. Second Life was something like this, to have currency as well. And then what we definitely have, which is basically outside as well, PlayStation credits, all that things. These are totally centralized systems. They have no real limitation how much they're issued. They are traded in certain ways, but there's not like a free technology or an open market for them. And if you talk about status quo in esports, so I think the first logo, this one knows everyone, or Steam. So it's basically where all the people go and play and buy their games. Then we have OPSKINS. It's something where people trading skins. Does everyone know what skins are? Raise your hands, please. Yeah, that's cool. Because sometimes you present and people don't know what skins are. And then like BitSkins. Those things normally claim they use already cryptocurrency or blockchain. What they're actually doing is they only accept Bitcoin as a payment solution. That has nothing to do with blockchain technology. That's what I basically wanted to say here. And then why is Ethereum particularly interesting as a blockchain technology? So imagine, I'm a creative person, I want to develop a game. There are these options I told you before for fundraising. But Ethereum allows me basically that I can create on the Ethereum blockchain, there's a platform, on top my own token. So I can issue, for example, a frog coin. For example, at this event, we could issue a frog coin. If people buy in, it would be interesting, and then we could start trading. But the fun stuff is, this is all highly organized already. So technically, launching a coin from a programmer's perspective is very straightforward. There's standard code. You can do something like this within an hour. The only chance is then making people believe that there's a wallet behind it and basically bring this idea to the people. And blockchain per se, it's, for example, as well good for all this. If you have a game and you want to introduce into the game a currency, you need to deal from a technical perspective with how do I transfer money in, how do I transfer money out, how do I make the accounting, how do I make stuff secure. But if I'm building a game and use blockchain technology on top within the game, it would be able to build a kind of an ecosystem very straightforward. And the funny stuff is as well, in which verticals are we talking? If you talk about esports at the moment, like the big game publisher, they are totally centralized. They want to stay like this most likely. So like even if you think about League of Legends, the largest games, also like the whole league is owned by them. So basically they own the whole value chain from the beginning to the end. What is interesting at the moment, if you talk about esports, I don't know how people think about that because it's gambling, so the betting industry. We have seen before, there's a large amount of people which are consuming esports events, but the consumers, they want to participate. At the moment, they cannot do much, just watch. And as we know, like from football and from traditional sports, people like to bet on events. So if you're a fan of a certain esports game, a league, team, you are sure they will win. So you put your money in. So this is, for example, what you can use the blockchain in the esports ecosystem. Also to, if we talk about, there's one company that want to build a whole decentralized esports league where basically they only provide a platform. Oops, too far. They only provide a platform, and people can build and make their own teams there. They can agree with other teams to make a battle out of it. As I told before, is like at the moment the model would be as was happening in Austria. Like there's Austrian Telecom, and they cooperate with ESL, ESL. Don't know the long name, and they form an official esports team, and then the whole thing starts. Then other things which are also interesting if we talk about esports is we have heard before skins, and this is item trading. So people, I mean, I tried something very weird out. We wanted to basically, I don't play CSGO, but they own virtual skins, and a lot of them. But it's just as an investment. So you see this is very crazy thing what you can do with it. And what is coming more and more, and where I think blockchain makes a lot of sense, is building whole game universes. So you basically provide an infrastructure where you say, okay, I build like one level, and the whole community would be able to build on top of it and build a whole universe. And this whole thing based on the blockchain, because it's open technology, everyone knows what's going. Code, once deployed to the blockchain, needs to be verified. But this technology used in a right way could revolutionize basically how games are built, how games are made, how games are even played. The only thing is, in this way, we are like in the internet ages of 1994. So we will see, I assume, the next 10 years a move into that direction. So now we talked more about theoretical stuff, so let's jump into this, how this whole thing starts. So for me, for the first time, was this company. It's First Blood. I think that's how our discussion started, Alex. Or it's a company which is founded by two American guys. They are gamers, and they are also into the cryptographic world. And for me, it was like when I go first on this blockchain technology, and cryptocurrency, yes, there's Bitcoin, very interesting. I can send money from A to B. Then was Ethereum coming. It's highly technical, not really any usage for average person. And then First Blood came across and said, oh, that's interesting, because what we want to provide is like two friends, they want to play like Dota 2, but they want to do it like a little bit with some more fun and bet on it, but only person-to-person betting. So it's saying, okay, I play against my best friend, and the person who wins get the money. So this works as long as we're in a room and know each other. But what is if my counterpart is sitting in America and I'm sitting in Austria? There's no trust. So what the solution would be to go to a completely centralized way, where you basically make a platform with rating stuff like this. But First Blood, they tried to build exactly that system on the blockchain, which means the whole technology is underlining on their service. They make sure that all the logins are working. So what you basically have a system which is self-regulating. So if I cheat, like say I'm saying, okay, I was the winner, and the other one saying he was the winner, then something would trigger which makes sure that a third party would verify it. But if I say, yes, I'm knowing I was losing, and the other one was saying he was losing, then there's no dispute, and the whole thing would go straight forward. Beyond the Void is one of these new ways where games are trying to, back to this one. This was in September 2016. So they raised their money through an ICO because that's the way how they wanted to do it, and they raised around $5 million US. So you can imagine if you're starting a small game indie company, game company, for example, and you raise $5 million, you would be happy. I don't know how it is in Austria, but normally it's 500,000 to 1 million to build your first visual stuff, you build your first concepts. But building something like this costs normally a lot of money. Then was like this game which came out, so this company in spring 2017, they basically wanted to build, following the model of League of Legends, but building games on the blockchain, and they used the blockchain first of all to issue their own token, which is called Nexium. And what the token is doing is basically they're allowed to buy in-game items. So you can buy better weapons, stuff like this. But in one way, upfront selling them the tokens already, they had a chance to build the whole system. And I think they have now a team of 25 people. And the product, this is the only product which actually is launched. It's not the fun stuff in all these ICOs. People raise a lot of money and then they not really work. So it's basically, you write the white paper, get your funding from the government, but the government would just give you the funding and you not have to deliver something. That's a little bit where the model will change in the future because a lot of scams are happening, let's say it this way. Then it's like Engine Coin. I don't know if anyone knows Engine, the community platform. It's a large community platform where basically gaming communities are existing. And what they did, and this is actually now, they're now raising money. They have raised so far through cryptocurrency and through an ICO $21 million US. That's a large amount. And what they want to build, basically, they want to build a whole ecosystem. All of them, they want to build a whole ecosystem. They have nice white papers. What's really in these white papers normally is rubbish. Normally, these things are changing, but you can not do anything because you as a token buyer, you have no rights. You're not a shareholder, you're nothing. You just purchase the voucher and you have to live with it. Then another one is like HeroCoin. I don't know, maybe someone has heard about them because they're from Austria. Has someone heard about them? Interesting, because they're in the esports game, and I told to them as well, so you guys are very into crypto and into startups, but not into the esports community. And what they want to do is basically what we know from BWin. They want to do betting on the esports with the whole regulatory and stuff. The only thing why I mentioned them is before, if we talked Wikipedia and all them, they're describing it as non-regulated, non-structured, nothing. This company, how do I say that? They are in close contact with the FMA in Austria, which is like the kind of a financial regulator in Austria. So basically, they're telling the financial regulator how things have to be done to be legally. So they are the first ones in Austria, which literally in Europe, I think, which have done an ICO, which is legally on the not so great side, let's call it that way. Because the issue is when you talk with a regulator, and this is very new technology, they don't understand. And just imagine in Austria, we had recently when you're doing a crowdfunding, we had a new crowdfunding rule where you don't need to issue financial, what's called, Prospektpflicht. And they kind of managed it. They originally wanted to raise 14 million. So their ICO is open till Monday, and they raised so far around 2 million. So you see, like, because you saw before, like here, people seeing large numbers, they think they can get larger numbers as well. And large numbers are published in the newspapers and everywhere, and it's not really always going that direction. So for them, they proposed a kind of a roadmap. In this case, I know them personally, so I'm kind of trusting them. And I hope it goes somewhere, let's say it this way. Because I'm myself as well an investor in them. And then is the big one, Unicorn. I don't know if anyone knows this one. It's the largest one in the US. It's very famous, like Mark Cuban, you know this guy? Who owns as well like football games. Yeah, sorry, basketball. God, whatever. and even Mark Cuban is an investor in that company, and it's Aston Kutcher is an investor in that company. And they wanted to raise originally like 100 million. So far, they has raised around 30 million, yes, 100,000 Ether. But a lot of this money is also in this ICO game, all this money is from private persons. So someone even can just invest $1, but also from large institutional ones. In this case, it's a mixture between large institutional ones, because it's pretty sure if I'm a company and I have like Mark Cuban and Aston Kutcher as my guys, everyone thinks they will go somewhere, but we need to see there as well. And this is happening as well now. So you see all these big things are more or less happening now. So this is like 4 months ago, they were all pretending to do things, but they're all in a very early stage. Then it's like something like Skincoin. Some call it scam coin, not skin coin. They were just early because in this game, how do you do an ICO is most likely you just build a website, which is in some cases only WordPress. And then you write a white paper, which is 15 pages of marketing, blah, blah. And then you deploy a contract on the blockchain and make people to pay in, let's say it this way. What they want to do is similar to this. They want to build their own blockchain even. So we talked before there are different blockchains, and they want to even build this whole technology on their own. But sorry for saying this now, I hardly believe 3 guys from the Ukraine will do that. So that's what I was meaning before. There's a lot of take the money and run philosophy in this thing. But as we always know, in the startup world, you say, basically something like this needs to be happening. It's a liberal market, the market will regulate itself. Now it's like, to give a general idea, 1 year ago there were 20 ICOs a month. Now there are 20 ICOs a day, and there are around 200 simultaneously opportunities to invest in. The prediction for 2018 is, because now everyone wants to do is around 1,000 a month or 3,000 even a month, which is going crazy. But that's basically, some call it a hype bubble. If we talk about bubbles in this system, we are at the stage where I think it's Atari level, so we still have some years to go. It's maybe not that long. I mean, some people laugh, they know Atari movie, maybe what they did, collect money, make fun, that's it. So what I'm thinking, maybe the next 2 to 3 years, this whole market will regulate and stuff will go much, much smoother. Then another one is with Gamecoin. They have raised so far 8.8 million, and what they want to do, basically they want to be the all-over universe coin. So they all have this big marketing speech, but mostly, like in this case, you see like nice imagery. It's also a little bit, for my case, when I look into them, I find the ideas very interesting, but I'm doubting highly that all of those guys will go the way or will be able to do what they really promise. And then it's like esports.com. That's one of my favorite one. I met the owner last week actually. Esports.com, and they want to build a whole community platform. So basically they want to become the publishing house, like a whole newspaper about esports. They want to give that people who are new to esports can hire professionals to train them how to play certain games. So they want to build a whole universe on it. And for them, the background of those guys, they are out of gaming, and they have done internet business before. So for them, it's like, when I look at them and I analyze them and I met them in person, I'm predicting they're pretty sure will go somewhere, because even having the balls, sorry for saying that, to buy esports.com. I mean, that's like, if you own that domain, you have a big plan. So that's things like this. Then recently, OPSKINS, just yesterday, announced what they want to do. Basically, you know how OPSKINS works. You go to the platform, and you can buy and sell your skins. But OPSKINS wants now to build a system on the blockchain where you basically commit your skins to the blockchain, and you can very easily build your own OPSKIN branded on your own, only with certain items, build your own shop on your own website. For example, imagine you are running your own team site on the internet for your esports team, and below you could implement, for example, your own shop, and everything would be decentralized and run through the OPSKINS WEX token. I haven't had no time to read through their white paper, but from the concept that's going into that direction, which the future is going, where esports and blockchain kind of emerge. To give you an overall idea, small number, sorry, 50 projects globally, I think, which are dealing from the esports sector, which wants to implement blockchain in a sense of not only just doing paying. I think seriously ones, there are around 10 projects, if I'm honest. But I think that's interesting. Totally raised around 70 to 100 million through ICOs in the last 6 months. I don't know how the traditional esports ecosystem, how the traditional ecosystem, how much new projects come out there. So I don't have any numbers of that. So maybe some of you guys know there how basically the traditional way works in this way. What is missing at the moment, as I told you, people are kind of using blockchain technology just to build their own tokens. And why build their own tokens? To basically do an ICO. And why they do an ICO? Because they need funding for their own company. And they are thinking it's the easiest way to do funding. Yeah, and a big problem is definitely real working large-scale projects. So there are no real projects out there which have a huge audience. Like Unicorn, they predict to be integrated in January 2018. So everyone at the moment, if you talk to them, say, yeah, 2018, Q1, we will launch our products. So basically, if that happens after this one, I think there will be a much larger wave, because they're the first successes, and then more and more people which are working even in the gaming industry will capture the idea to use that kind of model. And basically, as I said before, what's the deal? Like esports companies, startups, because you have to differentiate. Something like Unicorn, they are already an established company that just basically load up on top some money. And then like HeroCoin, these are guys which just basically moved out of their basement literally into an office. And Q&A. Anyone questions? No questions? Yes, there are questions.